Hello, Kenneth Hollins here with HollinsMusic.com and GospelMusicInstruction.com. Thank you for viewing this lesson, and I want to show you how you can take some really basic and simple chords and really transform them into something that's really nice. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take three basic chords, and now in this particular lesson I'm going to take three chords and I'm going to show you how you can take three basic chords and you can change it into something that is useful for worship or for background music, for several different applications. So in this lesson, I'm going to teach you about pedal points, adding the second tone to your chords. I'm going to teach you about inversions, chord inversions, using arpeggios, adding the major sevenths to your chord, and alternate bass notes. Okay, so I'm going to show you all of these things within this lesson, and I'm going to use a very basic progression in order to explain these different concepts. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to play this progression first, and then I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to show you exactly how I played it, and then I'm going to explain to you the concepts behind how I put it together. Okay, all right, let me demonstrate it for you. All right, now that's a very basic progression, but I did several different things with that progression in order to make it a little bit more advanced sounding. Now, let me explain to you what I did. Now, this progression is really basically just three chords. It consists of the D flat major chord, which consists of these three notes: D flat, F, and A flat. That's the first chord. And then the second chord is a B major chord, which consists of the notes B, E flat, and G flat. And then the third chord is an A major chord, which consists of the notes A, C sharp, and E. Okay, so those are the only three chords that I'm playing with this particular progression. So again, it's the D flat major chord, D flat, F, and A flat, the B major chord, which is B, E flat, and G flat, and then finally the A major chord, which is A, C sharp, and E, and then we move back up to the B major chord, and then back to the D flat major chord. Okay, so those are the three chords that I'm playing within this progression. Now, what I'm doing is I'm also playing what's called a pedal point. Now, a pedal point is most commonly used on an organ. And when you play the organ, and of course the organ has foot pedals, and whenever you play a pedal with your foot and you hold that particular pedal down, but you change your chords to something different like that, that's called a pedal point. So in a sense, your bass note does not change, but your chords are changing. Okay, and so with this particular progression, that's what I'm doing. I'm using a pedal point. So I'm playing D flat major, and of course D flat is my bass note, but then I move to B major. D flat is still my bass note. So now that's creating a pedal point. And then I go to A major, but D flat is still my bass note. Then back to B major, then back to the D flat major. So that's a pedal point. So that's one thing that I'm doing. Okay, and pedal points are very effective in certain situations. Now, the second thing that I am doing is I am adding the second tone to each one of my major chords, okay? Now, what I mean by the second tone is this. Let's take the D flat major chord, which is the first chord, for example, okay? If I were to play this particular major scale, the D flat major scale, it would be this. Okay, and of course, each note of that major scale has a number. Since this is the first note of the major scale, this would be number 1, and then this would be number 2. Then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I believe most of us know that, but I don't want to assume. So that's the major scale. Now, whenever I play the second tone of that major scale, I would call that the second. Okay, so this would be the second. Now, what I'm doing is I'm playing this major chord, and I'm also including the second tone. And again, I'm getting that from the major scale, the second tone of the major scale. So instead of this 3-note chord, which is a triad, I'm playing this 4-note chord. So it's now D flat major with an added 2. Okay, all right. So now I take it a little further. I go to B major. And I'm going to do the same thing, okay? So once I figure out the B major scale, then I figure out where the 2 is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2. Okay, this note is the 2, which is the C sharp, okay? So I play my B major, and then I include the C sharp, okay? All right. And my bass note with my left hand is still this D flat or C sharp here. Okay, and then I go a little further. Okay, this is the A major. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add the 2. Okay. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, this is the 2. The B is the 2. So I take the A major and I include the B, which is the second tone of this particular chord or scale. All right. And D flat is still my bass note. Okay, so it goes without saying, it's very helpful to know all of your major scales. That's E flat, E, F, G flat, G, A flat, A, B flat, B. Back to C. So it's very helpful to know all of your major scales. That way you can find the 2 very quickly, okay? Another way to easily find the 2 is the 2 is always a whole step to your right, okay? From wherever your root is. C is the root, so a whole step up is 2 keys. That would be my 2, okay? So in the key of B, if I go up a whole step from B, 1, 2, C sharp is my 2. And then A, if I go up a whole step from A, 1, 2, B would be my 2. Okay, so that's another simple way you can figure out the second tone. Okay, so I'm using pedal points, I'm using the added 2, and I'm also using what's called chord inversions. Okay, now let me explain to you what a chord inversion is. Now, an inversion is when you take a particular chord. Okay, let's take the D flat major chord, for example, and when you change the position or the order of the notes. Let me give you an example. Now, this is what we would call root position, because D flat is the root of the chord. Okay, when I say root, in a sense, you could think of the 1 or the tonic. Okay, so this is the root of the chord, the D flat. So we call this root position. But when I change the position, so we're going to play the same 3 notes, but we're going to change the position to this. Okay, so notice I'm playing D flat, F, A flat. I'm going to play the same 3 notes, but just change the position. Okay, now I'm going to play F, A flat, D flat. Same 3 notes, just a different position. Okay, now I would call this first inversion. This would be root position. This would be first inversion. Now I can invert this chord again. I would call this second inversion. Okay, root position, first inversion, second inversion. All right, and those are what you would call inversions. All All right, I could do that with all three chords. This is root position, B major, root position, B major, first inversion, B major, second inversion. And the key is just to play the same three notes. We're just changing the position of those three notes. Okay, we're not playing different notes. The same three, just changing the position. That's all. Okay, and then we're doing the exact same thing for the A major. This is root position. A would be the root. This would be first inversion. This would be the second inversion. Okay, one way you could think about it is take the bottom note and put it on the top. Okay, that makes it first inversion. And then we'll do it again. Take the bottom note, put it on the top. All right, it makes it second inversion. So that's just another way to think about it. So that's a third thing that I'm doing with this progression. I'm using different inversions. So for example, that's root position, or I could have done this. Okay, that would be second inversion, or I could have done this. Okay, that's first inversion. So I have options. All right, and not to mention, I'm also including with the different inversions the second tone of each major chord that I'm playing, along with changing the inversion. Okay? Okay, and if I go to the next chord, same thing. This is root position. That's the second tone. Okay, this would be second inversion, and this is the second tone of B. Okay, this is root position with the second tone. This would be first inversion. There's the second tone. Okay, that's second inversion. Excuse me, no, this is a first inversion. This would be second inversion with the second tone. Okay, and so we have so many different options when we include the different inversions. Okay, let's take it a step further. I'm also playing what's called arpeggios. Now, an arpeggio is when you take the notes of a chord and instead of playing them all at the same time, you would call that block style. When you play the notes of the chord all at once at the exact same time. Instead of doing that, you break the chords up into pieces like this, instead of all at the same time. And that's called a chord arpeggio, an arpeggio, okay? And of course you need a sustain pedal that you can press with your foot while you're doing this to really get that sound. Okay, and I'm just pressing down the pedal and the sound sustains. Like that. I'm only playing the notes of the D flat major chord. Okay, I'm playing different inversions, but I'm using them like arpeggios. Instead of playing everything at the same time, I'm playing the notes one at a time. Okay, now let's incorporate the second tone with the arpeggios. Okay, and I'm moving all around the keyboard, but I'm only playing four notes. These four notes, okay? The D flat major with the added two, and I'm just moving up and down the keyboard. So you'll notice I'm playing D flat, E flat, F, and A flat. Those are the only four notes I'm using, but I'm just moving up and down the keyboard. Okay, so you can make a really pretty sound that way. Okay, and I'm keeping rhythm, so I'm internally I have a tempo or a beat going on in my head, and I'm keeping the rhythm with the arpeggio. Dot 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 bop 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 bop. Okay, that's the internal rhythm that I'm playing with. down beat, down beat. Okay, so you can make some really nice movements just using that alone. Okay, and I'm doing that with each one of the chords. So okay, the arpeggios, then I went to the next chord. Okay, now that brings me to the next thing. It's what I call chord rips. Now, chord rip is when you would take the notes of a chord and you would start from the left or either the right, and you play the notes very quickly. Now, let me give you an example of a chord rip. For example, let's say this is the chord that I want to play. I'm just simply playing A flat, D flat, E flat, and A flat. Okay, a chord rip would be like this. Okay, I'll do it again. Once more. Notice I didn't play it all at the same time. Like that. Okay, I played the notes one at a time from left to right. Okay, this would be slow motion. Okay, one more time. Okay, now quickly it would be like this. All right, I call that a chord rip. And you can do that in the course of you playing these particular chords, okay? Let me give you an example. Okay, that was a chord rip, another one. That was another chord rip. That was another chord rip. I'm going from left to right. Okay, now this time I'm going to go from right to left. Okay, chord rip, right to left. Okay, chord rip, right to left. Okay, now I'm going to mix it up. Okay, real simple concept, but it's really effective when you use it the right way. Okay, that's a chord rip. Now I want to show you something else that really adds some color to your chords, and that's when you start adding the major seventh to your actual chord. Okay, it really gives the chord a really modern type sound. Okay, let me show you exactly what I mean. Okay, now this would be the major seventh. Okay, so this is my D flat major chord, and I'm going to put this C in there. That's the major seventh of D flat. Then we're going to go to B major over D flat, and the major seventh would be this at B flat. Okay, and then we're going to go here, A major, then the A flat would be, this note on the top would be the major seventh. Back to the B. B flat is the major seventh, back to the D flat, and the C is the major seventh. Okay, let me kind of see if I can demonstrate it in context. Okay, it really gives you more of a modern sound, but I'm still just playing these three basic major chords. That's all I'm doing, but I'm adding all of these things to it to make it a little bit more advanced sounding. Okay, now how do you figure out the major seventh? Okay, let me give you a simple way to do that. One way you can do it is play your scale and count up to 7. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's your major 7 for D flat. In the key of B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. B flat would be your major 7th. In the key of A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A flat would be your major 7th. Now, another way you could do it, say for example, you want the 7th of D flat, you're trying to figure out what that note is, just simply move down a half step from your root, like that. And then that's your major 7, okay, which is C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so that's an easy way to find it. Okay, in the key of B, What's a half step down from the root? It would be this here, this B flat. So that would be your major 7th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, same thing for A. A is your root. What would be a half step down from A? It's A flat here. That's your major 7. So that's a really easy way to find the major 7th. Okay. All right. So again, okay, I could either put it on the top or the bottom, whatever I prefer. Okay. You can put that major 7th on the top or the bottom. Depends on the sound that you want. You can get that crunch in there, that dissonance. Okay. Dissonance is kind of like a crunch in your sound, in a sense. Adds tension to your chord, and sometimes tension is good. All right, so you have A major, and then you want to put that major 7th in there, like that, okay? Okay, B flat is the major 7th right there. That A flat is the major 7th. B flat is the major 7th, and okay. All right, and I'm going to show you one more thing that you can include that will make your chord sound more advanced than what they really are. Okay, which is alternate bass notes. Okay. Now, let me show you how you can take simple chords and you can change your bass notes and make it sound like a completely different chord. Okay, so for example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these 3 notes, D flat, F, and A flat. Okay, so now that gives me 3 options for 3 different bass notes. I can make my bass note D flat, I can make my bass note F, or I can make my bass note A flat. Okay, so I have 3 different options, D flat, F, or A flat. Okay, so my first chord could be this, which is D flat, or it could be F, or it could be A flat, just whatever I prefer. Okay, so let me give you a demonstration. I'm going to use the arpeggios, I'm going to use the added 2, I'm going to use the inversions, and then I'm going to alternate my bass notes. So my bass note is either going to be D flat, F, or A flat. And where did I get those 3 notes from? The 3 notes of my major chord. Okay, so let me demonstrate it in the different sounds the different bass notes create. All right, here we go. I'm just going to sit on this one chord just to demonstrate it. Same chord, I'm just changing the bass notes. Okay, now let me demonstrate it with the next chord, which is B major. So now we have 3 options with the B major for a different bass note. We can do either B, we can do E flat, or G flat. Okay, one of those 3. All right, let's try that now. And then for A, the same thing. We have 3 options. We have the A, the D flat, or the E. Okay? Now let me demonstrate that. This is the A as the bass note. The E as the bass note. The C sharp as the bass note. Back to the A. Okay? So that gives me 3 different options in terms of my bass note. Okay, and now I'm going to mix it up with those 3 different chords. I'm going to change up my bass note so you can hear the different possibilities. Okay, going to the next chord. One more time, the D flat with an F bass note. B with an E flat bass note, the A with a C sharp or D flat bass note, the B with an E flat bass note, again back to the D flat. Okay, real simple, but it definitely gives you some different options with your sounds, okay? And then the last thing is, of course, the first thing that we talked about was the pedal point, which you can use whenever you want to over any three of these chords, any one of these three, okay? All right, and then so what we do is we take all of those concepts, the pedal point, the added second, the inversions, the arpeggios, the chord rips, the major seventh, and the alternate bass notes, and we can make some really beautiful sounding music, and all we're playing is three chords, okay? All right, let me demonstrate it once more, everything together. Okay, there you go. So you have so many different things that you can use to make really basic sounding chords sound a lot more advanced. And I believe it's really important not to just show you what I played, but to explain to you the way I came up with it, so that you can take those same concepts and you can create something yourself. It's an old saying that says, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, but if you teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. So I wanted to, in a sense, teach you how to fish, or show you the concepts that I use to come up with that particular progression. So remember, HMPI, we're serving gospel musicians all over the world.